Welcome everyone, Chris here, and we're going to go over the first couple of things we need to do to get everything set up for our Tetris clone game that we're going to be building here through these tutorials. So the first thing we're going to do, just as always, is we're going to go ahead and start by creating a new Unity project. So let's just go ahead and call it what it is. And this is called Tetris Clone. Okay, pick a location where you're going to save your project, and then click on Create Project. Okay, now we have our project loaded. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, same as always, we're going to just create some folders. And the first folder I'm going to create is it's going to be called Resources. And the reason that I'm creating this folder is that we're going to need to instantiate some prefabs that are not going to be part of our scene initially. So we want to load these prefabs at runtime. When we're already playing the game and we don't have these prefabs in the scene, we want to be able to place them in the scene from our assets. So the only way to do that is to place those assets into a resources folder, which is actually added to our final build when we compile it. So the resources folder is a necessary folder in this case. It has to be named resources. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the rest of the folders. I'm going to create the graphics folder, and we're going to create actually the scenes and the scripts folder. Scenes. And scripts folder. Okay, and then within the resources folder, we're going to create the prefabs folder. So all those prefabs are just going to sit in here. Okay. All right. So now we've got our folder structure, and let's see. Let's go ahead and save our current scene. Let's save it as level. Put that in the scenes folder, and then we're going to save this scene again, and we're going to save the scene as game over, and put that into the scenes folder. Okay, so now we've got two scenes here, level and game over. So we're going to go ahead and go back into our level scene, as indicated here at the top, level.unity. If we go into game over, it shows us game over.unity. So we know we're in the level because it says level at the top, even though these look identical. Alright, so the very next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and import our graphics. And I do have this as a compressed file for you guys to download. So here, let's see here are my assets, and I'm going to go ahead and drop these in here. Okay. And so the first thing we need to do with these is we need to select them all. We're going to change the pixels per unit to 32. Since for this game specifically, these pieces here, they were made in 32 by 32 pixels. So and we want those to equal 1 unit, because when we're going to be moving our tetraminos down from the top, we want to be able to move 1 unit at a time to give it that look of moving in a grid. Okay, we don't want any smooth movement here, so 32 by 32 equals 1 unit, so then when we move 1 unit at a time, it'll look good. Alright, we're also going to change the filter mode to point, and then we're going to click on apply, and that's that. So now we're going to need to go ahead and create some prefabs. This is the fun part. So let's start by creating the J. All right. So the best way to do this is to just go ahead and drag this into your scene. Okay. So here we've got one block. right? What we're going to do is we're going to create an empty for this tetramino. Okay, so just so you guys know when I'm referring to these individual blocks are called minos, and when they're put together, they're called a tetramino. So we're going to call this tetramino J. Okay, and then we're going to put this Mino J tile in this tetramino J parent, and then we are going to duplicate this 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, we're going to duplicate it 3 times to give us a total of 4 minos. In each of the tetraminos we're going to create, we're going to have 4 blocks each. Okay, so then we're going to position these relative to the parent. Okay, so we're going to have the first position will make 1, 0. The second position will be let's do 0, 1, and then we'll do a let's do a -1, 1, and the last one we'll do should be 1. Oops, should be 1, 1. Oops, that's wrong. -1. There. And 1, 0, 1. Okay. Okay. This look familiar to you guys? Okay, so now we've got this tetramino J created with our minos, and the positioning of this doesn't matter. It's just a prefab. It's going to just be a prefab. So we've got 1, 0, -1, 1, 1, 1, and 0, 1. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and create a prefab out of this, and to do that, we're going to expend our resources, and so we can see our prefabs folder. And then we're just going to drag this tetramino J into our prefabs. And there. We've got our prefab created. It's got all the minos as part of it. Okay, so we're good to go. It's blue. Perfect. You know, we'll just leave it here for now. We're going to go ahead and create empties for each of our tetraminos. So Mino, oh sorry, tetramino L. Yeah. Oops. Tetramino L. D. Oops. Oh, yeah, so this is something you guys have to be aware of. When you create an empty, if you've already got a parent selected of an empty that you've created, it's going to create another empty within that parent. So you're going to have to remember to always click away from that before you click on create empty. Tetramino long. See, I did it again. Tetramino S. Tetramino square. Tetramino T. Tetramino Z. And finally, we're going to create a grid, and the grid is going to contain the Mino grids, and this is going to be our bounds. Okay, this is not going to actually like be a grid. It's going to be the left bounds, bottom bounds, and right bounds. And not that this has anything to do with checking the bounds. It's just a visual representation of the bounds, so that when the player moves the piece, he or she knows where the boundaries are. Because we could build this entirely without making the grid, and to honestly, that's probably what we're going to start with. Is we're probably not going to make this grid at first. We're probably going to come back to making. Or you know what? No, we're going to make the grid. We're going to make the grid. We're going to, after we finish creating all these tetraminos. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to drag here. Each one is going to get one of our minos. Okay, long S, square, T, and Z. Okay. We're going to duplicate 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 3. 3. Okay. So for the L, we are going to have -1, 0. -1, 1. Oops. 0, 1. So basically just the opposite of the other one. And 1, 1. Okay. Alright. Create our prefab. Alright, I got J and L. Alright. So now we're going to create the long piece. And that one starts off at -2 and 0. And then -1, 0. 0, 0. And 1, 0. Okay. Create our prefab. Our long piece. Tetramino S. Oh. That one's going to start at -1 and 0. And then the next piece is going to be 1, 1. And then we're going to do 0, 1. And then 0, 0 for the final piece. You can't probably see, yeah, we can't see this because got all these others in the way. So let's move these so we can actually see all of our pieces. And we're going to delete these from the scene, so don't worry about where we're placing these, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so there's our S. Let's create the prefab. There we go. Right. Now we're going to make the square. And so the coordinates for this is 0, 0. 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, and 0, 1. Oops, what did we miss here? 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. 0, 1. Okay. Alright. Create our prefab. Alright, Tetramino T. I have 0, 0. 0, 0. -1, 0. 0, 1. And 1, 0. Create the prefab. Let's move that out of the way. create the Z, the coordinates for that one are 1, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, 1, and 0, 0. Create prefab. Okay. Now that we've got all the Tetramino prefabs created, let's go ahead and delete those from the scene. So we don't need them right now. And let's create our grid. So for that, we're going to drag our grid tile in. Okay, and these we're going to need a lot of. Okay, so just for the bottom row alone, we're going to need 12 pieces. So we already got one, so let's duplicate that 11 more times. Okay, the positions are going to be 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6, 0, 7, 0, 8, 0, 9, 0, 10, 0, and 11, 0. Okay, that makes up the bottom. For the sides, we're going to need 20 pieces on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this first piece 20 times. Okay, so the first position is going to be x0, y1, and then we're going to just keep going up from there. y2, y3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, we got 20 pieces on the left side. We're not going to do this again because that just takes too long. So what we're going to do is select all of the grid tiles that are on the left side and just duplicate all of them at once. And then we're just going to move that over to x equals 11. Okay. So there's our grid. And what we may need to do is move this 1 unit to the left. And I'll explain why I did this in a little bit later. Just know that we now have our grid created. Let's go ahead and turn that into a prefab. Alright, so we've got our grid, all of our Tetramino shapes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the two scripts that we're going to use to create this game. And one of them will be we'll name it game. And then the other, let's call it Tetramino. And let's go ahead and on the grid, yeah, that'd be a good place. Let's go ahead and put the game script on the grid. And then we need to come back to our Tetramino prefabs. And for each prefab, we need to add the Tetramino script to it. Oops. Okay guys, so that pretty much covers it. Stay tuned for the next tutorial. See you guys soon.